Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome everyone. Today is Go Day in Iran. It is, ladies and gentlemen, it's execution day. We've got the potential, the planned execution of the first prisoner in relation to the ongoing protests in Iran. Now, look. Whether you're paying attention to global events, whether you are not, I don't really think it matters at this point, because this is clearly going to affect everybody. Okay, this is going to absolutely affect everybody. Also, we're going to be talking about the digital IDs. There's been a lot of headlines in the mainstream media talking about digital IDs and how they've been cancelled, how the government's changed their mind on digital IDs. And I'm just throwing it out there right now for everybody, boys and girls. I'm letting people know that digital IDs have not been cancelled. That's a little bit misleading. Hang on, I need to click a button. It's a little bit clickbaity from the government. So let me just be clear. Digital IDs have not been cancelled. Digital IDs are very much going ahead. What the headline is with digital, it's actually worse. So the headline with digital IDs is Labour U-turn on digital IDs. They haven't U-turned. What they've done is they've said, well, yeah, we're still bringing digital IDs in, but you don't need it to work anymore. So it just and people totally miss the point. I genuinely think we're in a world where people just look at the headlines. Literally, people just look at the headlines. You know, I was having this argument with my mum, actually. I can't remember what the headline was. And she was saying something about the headline. I said, yeah, but that's not what it means. You've got to understand those words have dual meanings, right? And when people put a headline, Labour U-turns on digital ID, that's the big headline, right? But the real headline should be Labour scraps migrants having to have digital ID for work in the UK, because that's what they brought it in with, right? They brought in digital ID on the pretext. So when Keir Starmer, I'll jump onto Iran in a second, guys. Not physically. When the government brought in digital IDs, they said it was to stop illegal migration, right? And they said that the reason that digital ID would stop illegal migration was because you would have to have a digital ID to work in the United Kingdom, right? That's what they said. Now it turns out they've just scrapped that, and they're saying, yeah, they don't have to. Anybody can work in the United Kingdom. You don't have to have a digital ID. So they're still bringing digital ID out, but now it's just got no significant, absolutely zero. There might be, it had zero significance anyway. But I really do think that, when you look at these things, there's something called, I'm going to go a little bit woo-woo here. There's something called karmatic retribution, right? There's in some esoteric circles, there's something called karmatic retribution. If you guys know what I'm talking about, throw it in the chat. And karmatic retribution is when, for example, if I'm a doctor, right? If I'm a doctor and I've got this total example. Let me change that camera a second. So if I'm a doctor, and I'm not a doctor, guys, I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be a doctor, a scientist, or an engineer. If I was a doctor, right, and I was to give you, and I had an injection in my hand, right, and I said, hello, mate, this injection is going to do you harm, right? And you come to have that injection, that's on you, right? That is your karma, because all the information was out there. You knew that it was going to do you harm, and you came to me, and you still had it, and that's on you. The opposite's true. If I'm a doctor and I'm here with the injection, right, and I say, this is not going to do you any harm. This is safe. This is absolutely fine. And that's on me. There's something called karmatic retribution. And I'm just going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Right. Let me, I was going on a side quest. But what I was getting at there is I do think the government in the UK are absolutely trolling us, guys. I do. I think the government are absolutely trolling us. They are, I think, somewhere behind the scenes. Some, you know, like that Ant and Dec thing, right? Where they get somebody with the earpiece and they say, tell him to say this, tell him to say that. I genuinely think somebody's doing that with Keir Starmer. I do. I think somebody behind the scenes is doing that with Keir Starmer. Anyway, right, let me jump on to what's happening in Iran. So if those of you guys who don't know, it's the first, well, I'll share it with you actually. So today is the day when the execution is taking, well, a potential execution, might I say, is taking place in Iran. And Trump is vowing very strong action if Iran goes ahead with his execution. And look, I'll be quite clear. I don't think anybody should be executed, ever. I don't. I just don't. I always say this. I'm totally against any loss of, I'm against any loss of human life, any across the board. I don't care what you've done. If you've done something really bad, obviously you need to go to jail, and that jail needs to be really bad for you. Not with visits from your family. That needs to be it. Okay, but so President Donald Trump has said the US will take very strong action against Iran if it executes protesters, as rights groups say that more than 2,400 anti-government demonstrators have been. Remember, guys, okay, when I keep saying these, you need to take these numbers with a pinch of salt. I always get these things right, don't I? I always get these things right. The numbers have been coming out. There's been lots of numbers coming out of Iran. And every time we get a number, I always say, look, guys, take these numbers with pinches of salt because we can't confirm anything at the moment. So all these news articles are saying it's confirmed. The numbers keep changing. Okay. So let's just be clear. Any numbers that are coming out of Iran, we all need to take them with a pinch of salt. Anyway, some human rights groups say that more than 2,400 anti-government demonstrators have been in a violent crackdown by Iranian authorities. Now, this is the guy here. Relatives, this guy, this 26-year-old guy, Erfan Soltani, who was detained last week, have told the relatives of him have told BBC Persia that he is due to be executed on Wednesday, which is today, guys. That is today. Now, if that happens, let me stop sharing this. Now, if that happens, I don't see how the United States can't give a very strong action. I really don't. We know that they have the air power to do that. And while we think that Iran is a long way away, and it is, it is quite a long way away. Do you know what isn't a long way away? Your petrol station, your fuel pumps, your logistics. Because Iran, I know some people are going to argue with me with this. Iran controls 20%, depending on where you get your information. Iran controls 20% of the world's oil. They don't produce 20% of the world's oil, but 20% of the world oil goes past Iran, and they have the capacity to say, no, thank you. You're not passing your oil through here. They're quite reasonably. I can remember when some people were saying, there's a US strike carrier group in the region. Good luck. I was like, yeah, all right. The Yemen have closed, literally Yemen have closed the Red Sea, and they don't even have a navy. All right. So trust me, Iran can close the Strait of Hormuz. All right. 100%. Doesn't matter if there's a US strike group there or not. So if that happens, well, and you've got to look at this as a multifaceted response, right? So let's forget about America. Let's just forget about Iran for the moment. Let's think about on the streets in the United Kingdom and across Europe, actually. The whole of Europe and the United Kingdom. What happens when there's any conflict in the Middle East? People put the petrol prices up, right? Petrol and diesel prices. Why do they do that? Well, first of all, it's called price gouging. Literally, it's called price gouging. They can raise their prices and say, oh, it's because of the war. Because of the war in Iran. You're like, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm sure that fuel you've got in the pumps right now did not come from anywhere that was war affected. It's probably been probably got drilled maybe like 6 months ago at least, right? But they put the prices up really quickly. They can get away with price gouging. We saw this with the electricity companies. We saw this in the war in Ukraine when it first started. All the energy companies, they all put the prices up and they all blame Putin. It's Putin's fault. It's Putin's fault. It's all Putin's fault. And then you looked at the share prices and they had the biggest profits that they've ever had. You're like, because of this war in Ukraine, we just have to have the biggest profits we've ever had in the world. So that's what happens basically. When there's trouble in the Middle East, the oil prices go up, and you will see that at the petrol station, right? Now, again, I know that, maybe some of you are thinking, oh, but you know what? I don't care. I don't have a car. I don't really drive anywhere. I only put £10 a week in or whatever. Now, the problem with that is everything comes from energy. So, your transport costs, your haulage costs, your delivery costs, they all go up. And guess what? They don't come back down. They don't come back down. So we're feeling the pinch right now. We're feeling the cost of living. What will happen is once this, I'm speculating, once this happens, you're going to have a price explosion. And once those haulage companies put their prices up, those prices then get reflected back to you in the, at the supermarket. And guess what? If the oil price does come down, those haulage companies are not going to bring their prices down. Why would you bring your prices down if you're getting paid for something? So you see, it has a huge knock-on effect. But anyway, that is allegedly happening today. That is allegedly happening today, guys. Okay, so that death sentence, the public gallows is supposed to be happening today. Now, as I understand it, there could be as many as 10,000. I think, again, any information we get out of Iran at the moment is difficult to ascertain if it's factual. But I'm being told at the moment, well, I'm looking at online sources, that there are over 10,000 people who've been arrested. So, you've got that place where the United States really have been backed into a corner. Right, let me jump onto the chat. Yeah, oh, no, actually, this is good. Darren is saying, yeah. Darren Lamont is saying in 1988, 30,000 political prisoners were who did and did the world did nothing. Yeah. Look, when these totalitarian and people really don't understand this. If you're living in the United Kingdom, you don't understand how bad these things will be. If Sharia comes to the United Kingdom, of course, we all want to think we'll be living in utopia and everybody will be equal under the eyes of the law. But if we look back at what happens the last time a totalitarian Islamic regime moved in, it's Iran, and it's in 1988. You guys can, you guys can Google this. I said Google what happened in Iran in 1988 last night. Darren Lamont, I think the number actually might be more than that. The reality is we don't know the exact number, right? We don't know the exact number of prisoners that were in Iran in 1988. It was hidden from the world. And like Darren Lamont is saying, the world did absolutely nothing. And this happened in 1988, which is not a million, it's not like, 1988, it's not that far away, right? It's not that far ago. It's not that long ago. Googleino is saying police chief blames AI for banning Tel Aviv fans in apology. I think this comes on to the chat that we've got here. You guys can see the Islamic takeover in the United Kingdom, right? The slow takeover. It looks like some people could argue, that the police in the United Kingdom have been infiltrated by this ban on this ban at the football game, because what we found out is the police banned that game without what did they say? That we're going to ban the game in absence of evidence, and then they went out and they found the evidence then. Debbie Doobs is saying there will still be people working cash in hand only. Digital currency would stop that. Then we will be totally controlled. Yeah, so I think this is, we was talking earlier about the government have not backed down on their digital ID. Digital ID is not cancelled, guys. It's really not. The headlines, where is it? So the headlines from yesterday were that the government have banned digital ID. Let me get it up here. So this was the headline yesterday. Government drops plans for mandatory digital ID. And then they've added that bit onto the end there. To work in the UK. You know, and people will be looking at this and thinking, oh, it's a great thing. You know, the government have banned the mandatory plans for digital ID. They've not. All they've done is say, right, you know those plans that we had to make everybody in the United Kingdom, like to stop migration by saying everybody has to have a digital ID to, you know, work in the UK. Yeah, we've been in this. We're just gonna not bother. It's ridiculous. John Thistlethwaite is saying digital ID, think of it as 5 years ago when the vaccines came out. Then you'd up saying it was your choice. Simply put, you will have no choice in the long run to exist in this world without a digital ID. Yeah, I've got until the 20th of this month to decide what I'm doing with I'm a company director, and I've got until the until the 20th. So like 6 days, just under a week, to decide whether I register myself with my digital ID and everything, and your passport and your scan and everything, or just close it down. I have been stopping people. I have been stopping people coming to the. Hang on, let me go down. What's happening here? Hang on. Yeah, that's it. I've done that. Yeah, so I've only got, and I know a lot of people are the same, what the government have done basically. And I think the next people to get, the next cohort to have this with the digital ID is going to be people claiming unemployment benefits or whatever. I think they're going to be the next people to have to register for this digital ID. But company directors at the moment, they all have to register, and you can't do anything with your company online unless you've registered with this digital ID thing. Googleinos is saying buying Greenland could cost as much as 700 billion. Well, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair cost. You know, remember, money doesn't exist, guys. You know, money doesn't exist. It's money on a screen. It's numbers on a screen. Sorry. Sophia is saying, if we get Sharia, our lives are lost, if not physically, in every other way. I mean, listen, girls, do you want to would you feel empowered if you had to wear those things on your face? I know the girls in, the Persian girls. I'm gonna start calling. I'm going to stop calling Iran. I'm going to start calling it Persia. I know the Persian girls don't want to wear them. Oh, Millman on TikTok has just said only 3% of money exists as cash. Holly's World is saying it's very sad. I wonder what the past kings would say. England taken over by foreigners they fought. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, it's happened slowly. It's happened subversively, and we have been too blinded by literally we've been blind. Like Britain has been blinded by Britain has been blinded by their own arrogance, really, honestly, and victory's defeated them. Literally, victory's defeated them. Can you imagine how it felt like in the 50s? in the 50s. Can you imagine how it felt to be British in the 50s? Can you imagine? Can you just like try and contemplate it, right? Imagine what walking down the high street looked like in the 50s. Like, just imagine what it looked like walking down the high street in the 50s, right? Imagine this. I mean, imagine the sense of community. You know, you've literally just gone through the Second World War. You've won. You know, everything's great. You're still like the leading world power in the world. You know, you're like the global superpower. You've just won World War II. Like, imagine how good people felt. And that victory has been self-defeating. Why? Well, you get those 4 generations, right? You get those 4 generations. So you get the strong generation, which, and you guys have the meme, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. We're literally at the end of that cycle now. And our generation, Zs, our generation, it's weird how they call them Generation Z, right? You've got Gen Z and then Gen Alpha after them. Literally, Gen Alpha are going to be Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And I've been saying this a long time before I even understood the generational names. But basically, what you had is you had the strong generation, right? And listen, all you Gen Xers are going to throw it in the chat saying, not me. It's true. You can't deny this, all right? You're not arguing with me. You're arguing with the human condition. You know, so you're not having to go at me. You're having to go at the human condition. What I'm saying is right. You get this strong generation, right? And this strong generation, they make everything. They take it on the shoulders. It's hard. But they're like, right, we are not having this rubbish for our children. My children, our children, they are going to grow up in absolute utopia. They're going to have all the opportunities. They're going to have all the business. They're going to have all the money. They're going to have all the security that we didn't have because we did that for them. Right? And that's what's going to happen. That's what happened with the war generation. And then you have the boomers, right? So then you have the boomers who grow up and they're like the war babies, right? So they're the kids who grew up after the war, you know, and they're living in utopia. They've got everything because their parents are strong. So they have all these, they have all these opportunities now. They're the boomers. You know, they're the ones who've got the free market. They're buying houses. They've got the husband can go out to work and he provides for the wife and the 3 kids, and everybody's living in utopia. Okay, their kids. So that's the strong generation. Then that's the boomers. Each one of these gaps is maybe like 20 or 30 years. Then their children are Gen Xers, right? Gen Xers are spoiled. Gen Xers are spoiled because their mums and dads are the boomers and they've never seen hardship. The boomers have never seen hardship. They don't know what a threat looks like. They don't know what radical extremism looks like. They've never dealt with it because their parents dealt with it, right? Their parents got rid of that shit. They're like, yeah, we're dealing with that, all right? You know, so the boomers raise their kids. You get all these boomers who just want to party. They just want to have a good time. You get the swinging 60s. You get free love. You get everybody having, you get Woodstock, everybody having a good time. And that's when it starts to go downhill, right? That's when it starts to go downhill. Because they're like, yeah, everybody's equal, man. Everybody's equal. Just have a good time. And then the strong institutions that their parents or their grandparents built, they're slowly, but it happens slowly and nobody really notices. And then you get the millennials, right? And then the millennials are like, we're like stuck. Like, what do we do? Like, yeah, I can see how bad things are coming, but when I'm looking at this at like 10, 15 years old, 16 years old, I can see it, but the people in charge, they're the Gen Xers and they don't believe it. The Gen Xers don't believe how bad it is because they're not really, it's just a few isolated incidents. Until now, I'm a millennial, right? And I'm at the age where, my generation is controlling everything. And we're like, right, we are like, right, what is actually happening here? Where's things going? I mean, I've fought in every war, guys, that the British government have been involved in, and some that they haven't since 1999. So I've seen all this stuff unfold in front of me. So now you get the Gen Zs, right? You're the Gen Zs, and they're like, imagine what it's like for the Gen Zs growing up. So if you're like 16 and under, I'm saying, right? Imagine how hard it is growing up. Literally, imagine the conversations that Gen Z have at the dinner table with their parents. Imagine what Gen Z are going through at school when you're getting these Gen Zs and they're looking around and they're minorities in their own country. So when those Gen Zs and look, let's be clear, Gen Zs in the United Kingdom are probably going to have to go and fight the Russians at some point. That's the reality, right? That is, I don't think I'm being controversial saying that. So now you've got these Gen Zs, right? They're going to grow up, and by the time they're 40, they're going to be like, oh my God, this was an absolute swizzle. So then their children, they're going to be the next boomers. And you have this cycle repeating. That's literally it. That's a cycle repeating. And it's going to continue to repeat. So all the Gen Z, all the Gen Xers out there who are going to give me negativity in the chat, you're not arguing with me, guys. You're not arguing with me. You're arguing with human nature. But yeah. Let me jump down. Yeah, the spammer's gone. Let me see if there's any more spammers. Darren Lamont is saying you fought for a corrupt government. Oh, it's difficult to say that. It's... Okay, so nobody goes into combat and thinks, Tony Blair, this one's for you. This one's for you, Tony Blair. You literally join the military because you want to do that stuff, right? And if you get to do that stuff, you don't really think about, it's only when you look back afterwards and you look in. But it will be on a broader stroke of a brush, I would say, potentially. Sean Pearson is saying this country has gone to the dogs through these nuggets. I love a nugget, guys. I do. I love a chicken nugget. I love some chicken nuggets. Googleinos is saying Iran is reportedly accelerating work on chemical and biological warheads for its long-range ballistic missiles. A development that could significantly escalate the tensions with both Israel and the United States. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a headline. I'll try and find that headline in a minute. So I just want to jump to Iraq real quick because there's some who put it there. Okay, so Darren Lamont is saying you fought for a corrupt government. So we all remember the war in Iraq, right? And the weapons of mass destruction were never found. I'm saying to you guys now, and I was on the ground in Iraq in 2003, one of the first troops that went over the border. There was definitely something there. Just because they didn't find them doesn't mean that they weren't there. I can remember going into these... having to clear these weapons storage facilities, basically. And I think it was the Navy. I think it was the Navy hazmat teams. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when you deploy to a war zone, even if there's no Navy there, the Navy will go because the Navy provide things like hazmat. So hazardous material, hazardous material clearing or whatever. Now the Navy do that because on a naval ship, on a ship, like you can't call anyone else in, right? So if a ship gets hit by a chemical weapon or something, they have to have their own hazmat teams on that ship. So if you deploy to the Middle East or somewhere, and you need a hazmat team. It's normally a Navy hazmat team that comes out. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out. So back in 2003, we was clearing these weapons in, I think that there was just outside Al-Amara. They were just outside Al-Amara in southern Iraq. And so we was clearing these things, and the Navy hazmat teams, they were there first. And the Navy hazmat teams were going into these places, and everything had been removed. You know, they were saying, yeah, the empty containers for this, I don't know what the stuff was. You know, all the empty containers are there. It's not dangerous at the moment, so you guys go in and clear it. So, but there was definitely something there. I don't know where it went, but, you know, definitely. Anyway, so when people say that no weapons of mass destruction were found, you know, that is the case, but the surrounding infrastructure was there. Sausages are saying dogs' lives matter. They do, guys. Dogs' lives matter. Dogs' lives definitely do matter. Evacuation may be necessary. Russian governor warns the public. I know Kiev was evacuated. Well, the mayor of Kiev a couple of days ago said Vitaly Klitschko, one of the Klitschko brothers. Yes, the good old boxers. He evacuated the city. Well, he said to the people of Kiev the other day. He said, "Listen, the heating's gone off. It's really cold. You guys need to get out of the city because I don't know when the heating's coming back on. So if you've got friends or family, or maybe you yourself, you've got a country house. A lot of people in Kiev, they have like they're called dashers. They're called dashers. It's like a little country house, and you know, you go out there, you grow food and stuff. You grow food, and there's like a little summer house out there, and a lot of those summer houses will have log burners or their own gas supply. It's just a cultural thing. So I know Kiev was having an evacuation. Right, let me jump down to the bottom, guys. Let me jump down to the bottom. I'm sorry if I'm not getting everyone's comments, guys. I'm sorry. Sophia is saying anthrax, neurotoxins, plagues, smallpox. We have no idea how much scary stuff there is out there. I agree. You know, these when I was in the military, we did a lot of training on this before we went to Iraq, because we all thought we was going to get hit by some sort of chemical weapon. Yes, Sophia, we used to go to Porton. I think it's called Porton Down. I think there's an N in there somewhere. It's basically a nuclear, chemical, biological testing facility in Salisbury. I think it's in Salisbury. I'm probably pretty sure it's in Salisbury. And you do all your chemical training down there. And some of the stuff you used to get briefed up on. And I mean, this is out in the public now. So I'm not saying anything that's not released for everyone. But there's like, there's chemical weapons that can, so there's literally chemical weapons that can attack a certain type of person. So I don't know, say that you've got blue eyes, you know, you can release a chemical weapon that would only attack people with blue eyes. You know, it's bonkers, some of the stuff you can do with chemical weapons. Priv Caro is saying, if anyone's watching from Norway, remember to update your phone in 30 minutes. They are testing the emergency alarms on our phones and the sirens outside the cities. Wow. Thank you for that, Priv Caro. So Priv Caro over on, for you guys on TikTok, I've not forgotten about you guys on TikTok. Listen, you guys on TikTok, I'll be closing you guys down soon, and I'll just be continuing this live stream on YouTube. Priv Caro in Norway is saying that there is an emergency test in Norway. Look, my phone's there. I want to be quite clear on this, because you know, when in the United Kingdom, when people were saying, I'm not allowing the government to send me an emergency test message, I'm like, really? Why? Like, why is that? And I don't know, like, you're getting this, it's really weird, because you're getting like this you're getting this total government hesitation, right? And from the other videos we've talked about with the Russians and their Oshnik and their, you know, the Russians and their Oshnik weapon system, like if the and I'm not saying they would, I'm just giving you guys the numbers, right? If the Russians, and let me be clear, I'm not saying they are, just, you know what, let's just say random country of unknown origin fires the Oshnik weapon system at the United Kingdom from Eastern Europe. Like, best case scenario, you would have 10 minutes to react. Literally, you would have 10 minutes. Why do I say that? It's going to take, like, once that missile's launched, right, it takes 15 minutes. Some people are saying it takes 10 minutes, but I'm going to go with, like, the big end. So imagine that missile system launched, and and in 15 minutes, that's going to hit the UK. And I've done videos on this, right? So these things will be monitored by satellites and whatever, radar. That thing goes up in the air, right? You can see it. The Americans are looking at it. The British are looking at it. Everybody with satellites and stuff, they're all looking at that. Yeah, they've launched one. While it's going up, you don't know where it's going. You literally don't know where it's going. So this could come down in Kiev. It could come down in Poland. It could come down anywhere. Literally, it could come down anywhere. So that's as it's going up, right? And people are like, right, okay, it's going up. You've maybe got like a minute 30 before it reaches altitude, all right? And then it needs to canter. So it needs to change. So there'll be other little rockets blasting it into its position while it's getting the right trajectory. At that point, you're still not going to know where it's going because it's not started to move. Then it's going to start to move. It's going to take at least another minute, I think, for people to calculate the actual trajectory and the speed, right? So it's gone up. Let me get my rocket for you guys. I've got the rocket. I've got my rocket. Austin Powers, all right? So imagine this as the rocket. I know it's hard, guys. I know it's hard. So imagine this as the rocket, right? So the rocket goes up, and then you get stage one step. I think there's only two steps. So you get stage one separation. So the fuel tanks and everything drop off. And then you've just got this thing now, and it'll go, and it'll burst a load of air and thrusters out, and its gyros will point it into a direction, all right? This is about 1.5 minutes, right? And then this thing's literally in space now, all right? And then it starts to move. It's only at that point you can identify its trajectory, right? And you're maybe at 2.5 minutes now. So 2.5 minutes, you're like, oh, yeah, guys, that's coming towards the UK. So 2.5 minutes, you get the alert, right? 2.5 minutes, GCHQ, they're like, yeah, oh God, that's coming towards the United Kingdom. Then at GCHQ, you're going to have somebody go through some decision making, right? Because if they hit that button and it's wrong, and everybody gets the alert signal on their phone, they're getting the sack basically. So, and somebody's going to have to go up through something and say, yep, boss, this is definitely coming. Then that's maybe going to take another minute. So you'll get that text message, and you're probably going to have, best case scenario, about 10 minutes to react. And you will literally get on your phone, Britain is under attack, take cover, and it'll give you some generic messages. Like, people are deleting the app off there or disabling the emergency warnings. So I don't know why you would disable the emergency warnings on your phone. Yeah, I really don't. I really don't know why you would do that. I'm not letting the government tell me that something bad's happening. And I get it, you might not trust the government, but isn't it better to have the information and make the informed decision? I think it is. I think it is. I'll take all information. But as Priv Caro is saying there on YouTube, they're testing their alarm signals today in Norway. Right, guys, I'm going to jump down. Data tables is saying you're wrong. Debater tables. Sorry, I'm only just getting a comment, mate. What am I wrong in? Can you let me know what I'm wrong in, please? Can you let me know what I'm wrong in? I'm just going to jump to the bottom now. I hope I hope data tables is still on. I hope data tables is not gone, but data tables is saying I'm wrong. Right, data tables. If you're still on, can you let me know what I'm wrong with, please? I'll wait for your comment. Googleinos is saying personnel advised to leave US airbase in Qatar. Okay, so I've been there a few times myself. There's a big, what's it called? I can't remember what the airbase is called in Qatar. I think it's not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a big US airbase in Qatar. And as Googleinos is saying that there are people are being advised to leave the US airbase in Qatar. Now, Qatar is well within striking distance of, it's literally just across the water, right? It's quite easily in striking distance. But look, I do think people are getting ready. You've got, right, let me jump back to Iran because you've got a couple of things happening. You've got, today is execution day, ladies and gentlemen. If that happens, there is literally no going back. Some people are saying something could happen today. I'm still sticking with Friday. If something happens, it's got, Friday has got the tick in the box for me. In the Middle East, Friday's a really holy day. People don't want to work, and it's a lot. You have maximum capacity if you hit something on a Friday. Also on a Friday, you can, you can shock the stock market and you can make a ton of money. So if you're sat there, right, if the politicians or, the members of Congress in the United States are like, right, Donald, are you gonna send airstrikes into this is total hypothetical, right? Total hypothetical. Right, Donald, are you gonna send some airstrikes into Iran? I'm gonna do that. We're gonna do it real good. We're gonna really decimate them this time. We're gonna send those B-2 bombers, and we're gonna back them up with some F-16s, Fighting Falcons. We love the Fighting Falcons. And your mate says to you, right, Donald, if one of those missiles was to hit this gas oil separation plant, that would cripple this oil supply. And if we knew that was happening, for example, and put a load of money in shares in that other company there, their rival company, we could make a ton of money if we do this on a Friday. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to do it on a Friday where they can make a ton of money? Or do you think they're going to do it on, like, I don't know, whatever day of the week it is, where they can still make, considerable amounts of money, but you really can make an eye-watering amount of money if you, if you do these things on, a Friday. Sausages is saying buy gold. Listen, I can't give anyone financial advice, guys. I'm not qualified to give anyone financial advice. I think there's more utility in buying silver. This is just me, guys. All right? I think there's more utility in buying silver. You can do something. You can do something with a silver coin, right? If you've got a gold coin or a bullion, right? Okay. Imagine this now, guys. Right? Imagine everything's collapsed. Everything's collapsed. Money's worthless. Everybody's gone feral. Everybody's gone feral. Everybody's gone Mad Max. It's gone full Mad Max. And you go to try and buy something with a bar of gold. That's a lot of money, man. That is literally a lot of money, right? You might be able to get away with it. How are they going to give you change? What are they going to give you change in? If you've got like silver coins and they're worth like, I don't know, 50 quid each or something, a small silver coin, and you can say, oh, I've got a silver coin. Do you want this silver coin? There's a lot more utility. There's a lot more utility operating with silver, right? There's a lot more utility. And especially if somebody knows you've got like a couple of grand's worth of gold in your basement or whatever. For me, I would be, I've given you my thoughts. Holly is saying that's smart. I don't know what that's in reference to, but silver, maybe silver. I don't know. Right. I'm still waiting for this guy who said I'm wrong. Listen, guys, I genuinely welcome people who think like, I genuinely welcome people who think I'm wrong. To put it in the chat, literally, I genuinely, I might be wrong. I don't know whether it's happened before. It might have. I don't know. I genuinely welcome anyone, if you think I'm wrong about something, please put it in the chat. Be polite about it. You know, we don't need to be, nobody needs to swear and be angry and start using bad words. You know, just be polite about it. Say, hey, Sean, I think you're wrong because these are the reasons. And, you know, we'll talk about it. And maybe I am wrong. I don't know. Googleinos, listen, guys, it's all going to kick off in Iran, right? We said this, didn't we? We said this. We like years ago, we were talking about this. And then in 2023, I said, look, there's no going back now. In 2023, when the United States signed their little document away in the House of Representatives or whatever, and said that the United States would take all action necessary. Maybe Christopher Nolan scripted it for him, and they said the United States will take all action necessary to prevent Iran from gaining a nuclear weapon. So Googleinos is saying Iran warned regional states of strikes on US bases if it attacked, officials say. Look, guys, we're at this impasse right now. We are at a rock and a hard place. We have got the execution planned today of the first Persian, I'm going to start calling them Persians, of the first Persian protester to be arrested by the Iranian regime. You've got the United States saying, if you execute anyone, you know, you can't hide that now. This is like, if these things happen on the streets, right? If these things happen on the streets, you can claim self-defense. You can absolutely claim self-defense. Why did your soldiers open fire? Well, they were in a self-defense situation and the crowds were about to overrun them and it was going to be a bad day because, you know, so you kind of got that, you know, you have got that argument, right? As an execution, you know, that means that this guy's no threat. He's literally in prison. You know, and they're sending him to the gallows. I don't think there's any way back, guys. I really don't. Once this happens, there's no way back. Claire is saying we need ice. I think she means. I think Claire means the United States ice, where they're removing illegals from the country. Sausages is saying politicians make yeah, they do. Politicians make fortunes on stock. And Debbie Dooms is saying is it Baba Vanga or Baba Vega? Baba Yaga, Baba Vanga, whatever. They're saying World War III will start in the Middle East. Listen, and I told you guys the tarot cards. It was the tarot cards that I told you guys also. If we're going woo-woo, the 16th is Friday. And if you guys want to relate that to a card in the tarot card, and again, I don't really put much stock in this. I'll always put, you know, the 16th tarot card means upheaval. It basically means sudden change and chaos. So that's the 16th. And if you want to look into Donald Trump's missus, you'll know where I'm going with that. Right, I'm going to jump down. Right, let me see if there's any. Sean, he's replied. Right, right. Let me look up and find this reply. So I asked someone why I was wrong, and I can't find his comment. Sorry, I'm just looking up. Listen, guys, when the comments move in fast, I can't see everybody's comments. Right, I can't see. Maybe that I can't see. I can't see his comment. I think he went. Right, I can't see his comments, guys. I can't see his comments. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know where his comments gone. If somebody could repeat the comment, I'd be happy to talk about it. Right, let me jump up and get some more comments. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on for the first time, I'm going to close you guys down on TikTok, actually. TikTok, I'm closing you guys down now. I will be continuing this live stream over on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. I'll be on this live stream. The situation in Iran is escalating or spiraling out of control, whichever guys you want to, whichever side of that metric you're on. I don't think there's any going back now. You know, I don't see how these things can go back. We've had a massive media blackout from Iran or Persia. Stop saying it's not Iran, it's Persia. We've had a massive media blackout. We don't really know what's happening. I am going to be talking more about that on while I'm streaming on YouTube. But anyway, guys, I will close you guys down now. Like I said, Real Raven 1 on YouTube, and I'll see you guys in the morning or whatever. Do Blato, Paul, Matt Smith, Alan Leary, Kazamana and Chloe and Yup Yup have all joined. Listen, you guys, jump over to YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 and I'm continuing this live stream. God, we are gone in there. And I always hit my finger. But I do that. Sean is saying money will become irrelevant, I think. Yeah, I don't think money will become irrelevant, but I think it will massively lose its value. You know, I mean, you're always like, you know, you can imagine right now, all right? If you can imagine right now, everything goes, just imagine, look, guys, I don't think it is going to go, everything going to go wrong right now. D. Marie saying the tarot cards has me creased. I learned what tarot cards mean. I did. I had a lot of time in the Middle East, and I just learned what tarot cards meant because I watched Sherlock Holmes, and there's a scene on Sherlock Holmes where he goes to this woman whose brother's being captured by Moriarty or whatever, and she's a tarot card reader. I think she's like a French gypsy. And he goes in there and they have, he says, can I have a tarot card reading? She starts reading him. He says, actually, I want to read yours. And I just thought it was cool. Because he was like, I just thought it was cool. Anyway, so I learned what the tarot cards meant. Right, let me jump down. James is saying, I think Iran still thinks they're talking to the West that just listen to threats and won't do nothing, not realizing they're talking to Trump, who just took Maduro out of the blue. Yeah, I think so as well. You know, I think so as well. Also, what you've got to understand is these, these totalitarian states, you know, they don't really produce that much because it's very difficult to produce stuff in a totalitarian state because you can only force people to work. And when you force people to work, you don't get innovation. You don't get any innovation. Absolutely, like you don't get any innovation when you force people to work because people are too scared, right? One of the things that drives innovation is taking risks. So when you're in a totalitarian state, you're saying, work, do this. But if you don't work hard enough, you're off to the gallows. People are like, whoa, I don't want to stick my neck out and try and, innovate and create something new because if it fails, I'm off to the gallows. So people don't do anything. The only way, and I'm getting to the military complex here. So the only way to drive innovation is to give people that freedom to take risks. And the only way to do that really is to have a free market and capitalism. Anyway, now because these totalitarian states don't do that, what happens is they don't have a military, but their guys, their generals that are under them, they're too scared to tell them, the supreme leaders, that, yeah, our military is useless because, like, we're too scared to take a risk. So the generals, the Ayatollah, he thinks his military is ready. And obviously, he thinks his military is protected by the hand of God, which it may be. We'll soon find out. I mean, the hand of God didn't really... listen, the God or Allah, he didn't stop those B-2 bombers, right? He didn't stop the B-2 bombers. So I don't know. Oh, right. Okay. Data Badlands. Okay. So, right. Data Badlands is saying, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of the world at all. I think there'll be a lot of people alive. WMD, weapons of mass destruction. Are you saying that that's what I'm wrong about? Are you saying that there were no, so debatable lands? Sorry, debatable. Are you so debatable? Are you saying that? So debatable. Are you saying that Iraq didn't have any chemical weapons? Because chemical weapons are definitely weapons of mass destruction. Is that what you're saying? And if you are saying that, where did you get that from? Like, where are you getting that information from? Right, Iran is warning everyone, aren't they? Iran's warning everyone. Yeah, you absolutely have. You have. Bandagain is saying the tower card is the worst card. Everything collapses. So the tower, right, guys, it's the sixth. Look, I promise you, I'm not basing my analysis on Friday being the 16th, and the 16th card of the tarot means like destruction, chaos, collapse. But the 16th is the 16th, and that's what that tarot card means. All right, okay. So debater Badlands, thank you for this. Thank you, debater debatable lands. It's saying in 500 years, there's been different currencies from different countries that all went bang. Reset after every collapse. After this collapse, we will get a digital global currency, total control. I agree with that, mate. Where are you? So, right, I actually agree with you. So how don't we agree? I think are we missing something here? Debatable lands. I don't know what we're missing up here, mate. But I actually agree with that. I actually agree with what you're saying. So I don't know where we're wrong. I don't know where I'm wrong. If we're agreeing, how can I be wrong? Or maybe you're wrong. I don't know. Sophia is saying there is only one nation the Lord protects, and that's Israel, a tiny little country most of the world tried to destroy, and yet it's still here. So Sophia, I'm assuming you're from Israel. Right, listen, I'm going to jump. Yes, an attack on Turkey is an attack on NATO. Although I do think NATO's over. I think NATO's over. Remember, if Turkey is attacked by a missile strike or something, if Turkey is attacked by a missile strike, then Turkey will invoke Article 5. Now, Article 5 was written in I don't know, like the 50s or whatever. And what that says is an attack on one member state is an attack on all member states. The Security Council will convene, decide what action to take to bring peace and stability back to that region. If there's no ongoing conflict in that region, what can NATO do? Literally, what can they do? I do think NATO is over. Still not right. Let me jump up, guys. Let me jump on the mainstream and give you guys, see if there's been any updates on Iran, because the situation is developing quick. And they are ahead of us with time as well. Uh, 4 minutes ago, we've got an update from 4 minutes ago. Right, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this update, guys, from 4 minutes ago. Let's share it. I've not seen this, obviously. 4 minutes ago, we were talking eloquently 4 minutes ago. Right, let's have a look at this. Oh, I've got a bit of ads. Iran latest. Tehran warns neighboring countries if US attacks. Yeah, we've done that. Where's the right? Okay, 14 minutes ago. Oh, I'm sure he said 4. Whatever. Still no information about protesters facing execution. Guys, this is the linchpin. This is the linchpin. We've heard from Hengor, the Norwegian-based Norway-based, that's a bit weird, but whatever. Norway group, doesn't sound right. I'll read what he says. The Norway-based human rights group that has been following the case of 26-year-old Irfan Soltani, who is said to be facing execution today. And that's him there. He's clearly Persian, right? He's not an Arab. The US State Department, the US State Department in its Farsi language X account previously said Sultana is the first protester to receive a death sentence, but he will not be the last. As a reminder, Iran's top judge signaled there will be fast trials and executions for those detained under the protest. So what we know is the Iranians are saying that this is... I can't remember the word in Arabic. There's a word for it in Arabic. It's like Hagansa or something. I'm not meaning to be disrespectful to the Arab language, the Arabic that they speak in Iran. I just don't know the word. It basically translates to war against God. So that's what they are saying to these people. They're saying, look, if you guys are, if you guys have been arrested and you're tried, then you are accused of waging a war against God, and the punishment to that is the gallows. Iranian state TV acknowledges high number of protesters. International calls from Iran restored. Pakistan ambassador claims personnel advised to leave US airbase. It's going to be an absolute swizzle, guys. It's going to be an absolute swizzle. These guys have a lot of missiles. A lot of them are, of Russian origin. The Iranians and the Russians have there's a new post. Hang on. So this is right. Okay. Right. I'm going to share this. This has literally just come out, guys. Literally, this has literally just jumped on. So this is like breaking. We're still in the same minute. Did we just receive a signal Trump is preparing to strike Iran? In the last hour, we brought you a report that US person. All right. Okay. They're talking about They're talking about something else. Look, guys, it may happen today. I'm still pegging it for the 16th. I'm still pegging this thing for the 16th. I'm pegging it for the 16th. I've not changed my mind. No. So as I understand it, and I might be wrong, but the executions in Iran are by the gallows. So yeah, the rope. They're getting the rope. NATO are too scared to attack certain countries like Iran, Russia, and China. They only attack smaller countries, Afghan, Syria, etc. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. Yeah, and Sean is Sean Pearsons is saying they're burning the mosques and government buildings. Yeah, they're burning the mosques. They're burning the government buildings of the people that live there. Yeah, they are. They're absolutely done with it. Israel has the Iron Dome and David's sling. I don't know what David's sling is. Is that the laser thing? I'm not convinced on the effectiveness of lasers. Make Iran great again. Make Persia great again. It's Persia. So what's it? What else? We've got Sky Rats being out again. I don't know what that means. Sky Rats? Aircraft? Drones? I don't know what Sky Rats means. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start to close this live stream down. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning. We've been talking about execution day in Iran. The first execution looks like, well, I mean, I've had no different information. All we know is that there is a public, I think it's public, an execution planned today. What's going to happen here is this is going to back the United States into a corner. Well, it's not going to back it into a corner. This is going to give the green light for the United States to strike Iran. How, where, when, what, why, we don't know. I'm saying I believe this is going to be on the 16th. We've seen air bases evacuating from personnel being told to leave Qatar Air Base. The Iranians have been, the Iranian regime have been saying that they can strike targets all over the Middle East, which is true. You know, and it does look like this thing is green for go. If this happens, remember, guys, okay, the fuel price historically jumps up, you know, because you do get people getting these price gouging, basically. BP, Shell, Exxon, when there's trouble, they can blame the trouble on them price gouging. And once they price gouge here in the United Kingdom, everywhere actually, you know, those haulage companies, those delivery companies, they have to put their prices up. And once the prices go up, they don't come back down. And we are all going to face that at the supermarket. Right, I'm going to close this down now, guys. As Google Enos is saying, any major updates, I will be straight back on, guys. I'll be straight back on. Sean has tinnitus and has to talk loud. I do have tinnitus. It's horrific. It is horrific. If anybody's got tinnitus, like I have it in my this ear, it goes, and this ear goes. So like when I'm laid in bed at night, it's really difficult to get to sleep. Bandagani saying petrol price shoots up. Yeah, that is exactly what happens. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. I'm going to go and have my little personal war with Klaus the mouse, who's in the house. He's evaded us so far, but I think we'll get him. Yeah, he's evaded us so far. Anyway, guys, listen, do you know what? I'm going to leave that, actually. That's going to be, praise for this Persian young, absolutely. You know, absolutely, I can't say it better than that. We kind of forget that, you know, that this guy, he's got a family, he's got, he's only 26. He's got a family, he's obviously got a mom and dad, probably got a girlfriend, might have kids, I don't know. And he's... Well, he could face the gallows today. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys later. If there's any major updates, I'll be straight back on. If not, I'll be back on tonight at 8. Dobro ranok. No, dobro utra, which is good afternoon in Russian.